This episode of Nerdist News Edition is sponsored by Borderlands 3. These are the top 10 Stephen King adaptations of all time. It Chapter 2 floats into theaters this week, closing out the second half of the big screen adaptation of one of horror master Stephen King's most terrifying books, also called It. And audiences are hyped for the release because It's first chapter brought the scares and the gazebos.
They're gazebos!
And it became one of the most memorable and faithful of the over 100 works that are adapted from, based on, or influenced by Stephen King's expansive catalog. Now, because his works have been adapted so many times, there's bound to be the share of the good, the bad, and the dream catcher. Sorry, Duddits. So we thought that we'd take the time to round out our top 10 Stephen King adaptations for you, so you can sink your teeth into them after you finish up It Chapter 2. Now, before we get started, we combed through movies, TV shows, comics, and so much more to bring you this honestly definitive list, and it's bound to bring joy to some and tears to others, but that's just the cost of doing a top 10 list. Sacrifices need to be made, so sorry, Kyle Anderson, but Firestarter does not belong in the top 10, neither the movie nor the club anthem by The Prodigy, which I know you're probably humming to yourself right now, but I can't hear because we don't have the ASCAP fees to cover it. However, we do admit Kyle's opinion that Salem's Lot miniseries/TV movie directed by horror icon Tobe Hooper does at least deserve an honorable mention. Based on King's second novel ever, Salem's Lot made vampires scary again. It was a close call, but it didn't quite make it into the top 10, so there you go, Kyle. That's your birthday present forever. So without further ado, here are the top 10 Stephen King adaptations. Coming in hot at number 10, The Running Man. Yes, I'm talking about the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger film set in the dystopian future of 2019, where extreme reality TV is the norm, and the most popular game, The Running Man, follows criminals as they're dropped into an arena and hunted down by stalkers for the chance to win a pardon. Now, loosely, and I do mean loosely, based on the book of the same name, it was actually written by King under his pen name of Richard Bachman and published in 1982. While the film was only moderately successful when it debuted, it's since found somewhat of a cult following in recent years. Now, we could go on and on about how it predicted the growing division of class and wealth, or how it accurately portrayed the rise of reality TV and the gamification of our political and prison systems, but nah, it's just peak Arnold Schwarzenegger kicking ass in a sci-fi future with excellent one-liners. I mean, what could go wrong with that?
I'll be back, only in a rerun.
And speaking of reruns and TV, our number 9 pick is one of the better small screen adaptations of King's works, and it doesn't adapt anything at all: Castle Rock. Now, we'd previously seen J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot team up with King on Hulu for 11/22/63, but we think their second outing was actually the more successful venture. The anthology series is set in the Stephen King universe, with the first season drawing inspiration from stories like The Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. And while the show is thrilling enough on its own, what really sells it for fans is that every scene is practically crammed to the gills with Easter eggs and references, as well as characters, or the actors who played them, and books from Stephen King's deep oeuvre. It's this blatant love letter to King that earns it our number 9 spot on our list. Now, our number 8 pick is going to ruffle the feathers of some Tim Curry fans, but we're going with It Chapter 1. Sorry, Tim, I know. While you are truly the reason that most of us couldn't sleep at night as kids, the rest of the It miniseries is a bit dated. But lucky for clown fans, or as we call it, the sane clown posse, It Chapter 1 delivered a thrilling, genuinely scary version of Stephen King's iconic behemoth of a novel. Set in the picturesque town of Derry, Maine, It Chapter 1 tells the story of a group of friends who get caught in the crosshairs of Pennywise the Clown. The film features a hilarious cast with great chemistry, homages to 80s films like Stand By Me, which we'll get to in a little bit, and The Goonies, and jump scare after jump scare. Modest Mouse may have said, "We'll all float on, okay," but Pennywise the Clown says otherwise. "You'll float too." Floating on to number 7, The Dark Tower, the movie. I'm sorry, we're just kidding. Nobody liked that movie. No, we're talking about the comic book adaptation that explored the origins of Roland, aka the Gunslinger. Beautifully illustrated by Eisner winner Jay Lee and written by fan favorite writer Peter David, the first 7-issue miniseries, The Gunslinger Born, focuses on the flashback scene in the Wizard and Glass novel. Essentially, it's a coming-of-age tale, and we see Roland earn the right to be a gunslinger as he and his pals embark on an adventure and find true love in the process. While the story itself is the standard hero's journey, the combo of Lee's art along with David's crisp dialogue makes this one of the best adaptations of Stephen King, which is why it's earned the coveted 7th position on our list. Now, putting things back on the horror track at number 6 is Misery. Now, while many of Stephen King's works seem a little autobiographical, this film, directed by Rob Reiner, tells the tale of a successful author, Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan, being held captive by his #1 fan, Annie Wilkes. In an iconic performance from Kathy Bates, Misery seems like it would be King's worst nightmare. Though Misery isn't as flashy as some of the other adaptations on this list, its combination of mundane horror and a creeping sense of dread definitely earn it a spot. Its take on obsessive fandom, the remote setting, and its intense bursts of violence have solidified Misery as a fan favorite over the years. Plus, it is one of the most indelible cinematic horror visuals in the whole hobbling scene, and we're not going to play the whole clip here, but you know what we're talking about, and if you don't, oh boy. Ugh. Hammer time. Now, speaking of Rob Reiner adaptations, Stand By Me takes the number 5 spot. Now, Stand By Me is certainly not King's scariest work unless you find trains and seeing dead bodies and a child Will Wheaton to be frightening. Okay, maybe that train sequence is pretty scary now that we think about it, but in any case, Stand By Me proves that King is capable of much more than just tales of horror. The adaptation of Stephen King's coming-of-age tale boasts a young cast full of familiar faces like River Phoenix, Jerry O'Connell, Kiefer Sutherland, and Corey Feldman as they attempt to find the body of a missing boy. And the personal nature of the film amps its nostalgia factor. These are the reasons why we stand by Me at number 5. Now, coming in at number 3 is... Just kidding, you thought we missed number 4? Well, we didn't, because number 4 is 2007's The Mist. Based on a Stephen King novella and directed by Frank Darabont, which, not that one that you're thinking about, The Mist reminds us that no matter what extra-dimensional elder gods are trying to tear you limb from limb, the scariest thing of all is still humanity. Director Frank Darabont changed the ending of the story, making it much more bleak and heart-wrenching than in the original, a change that Stephen King actually loved himself. He told Cinema Blend at the time, "Frank wrote a new ending that I love. It's the most shocking ending ever, and there should be a law passed stating that anybody who reveals the last 5 minutes of this film should be hung from their neck until dead." Talk about a seal of approval. And for those of you who want the real Mist experience, I gotta be honest, the black and white version of the film is a must-watch. It's fine in color, but if you can find the black and white version, it is just like, ooh, pizza chef. Another must-watch is our number 3 pick, Carrie. This 1976 movie by director Brian De Palma is based on Stephen King's first novel about a teenage girl with telekinetic powers and has become one of the most iconic horror movie visuals of all time, specifically when the titular Carrie is at her prom just straight up drenched in hog blood. The film's twisted take on teens and high school has cemented it as an essential horror classic. Also, that eerie ending still haunts one of our producers to this day. Don't ask Stephen to prom. Well, we're now at the top 2 picks, and though we struggled with it, we're standing by our number 2 pick with The Shawshank Redemption. Based on King's novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, the film depicted life inside of Shawshank State Prison and the corruption that lingered within. While the film adaptation didn't do so hot at the box office against other films like Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction, which were released at the same time, Shawshank did receive multiple award nominations and is in the Library of Congress's National Film Registry. So, suck it, Angry Birds. With the 2 acting powerhouses of Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman as the film's protagonists, both at the top of their game, The Shawshank Redemption is an epic tale of hardship, survival, and friendship when it seems like the entire world is against you, and still managing to find a way to break free. Literally. And seriously, who doesn't tear up when they hear Morgan Freeman say,
"I guess I just miss my friend."
And finally, this brings us to the king of all Stephen King adaptations, Stanley Kubrick's 1980 film, The Shining.
Here's Johnny!
For better or for worse, this is usually the first thing that pops into someone's head when they're thinking of Stephen King adaptations. And while this version of The Shining veers far from the source material and Stephen King himself actually hates it, you can't deny the film's power. From the music and sound design, to the cavernous sets, to the acting, to that insane teal color used in the opening credits, every piece of the film lends itself to upping both the stress and the creepiness factor. The result is terrifying, cathartic, and downright fun, which is good because, as we all know, all work and no play makes Dan a dull boy.
How do you like it?
So there you have it. These are definitely the top 10 Stephen King adaptations. No questions, ifs, ands, or buts. Don't at us. But actually, you know what? Please do keep the discussion going in the comments below. What do you think of our list? What films are missing? And why wasn't Maximum Overdrive on this list? The Green Goblin is a damn truck. Let's discuss. Thanks again to Borderlands 3 for sponsoring today's episode. The original shooter looter is back and bigger than ever. With 4 all-new Vault Hunters and over 1 billion guns, it's time to lock, load, and loot. Pre-order Borderlands 3 now so you can play when it drops on Xbox One, PS4, or PC on September 13th. Let's make some mayhem!